hopes shattered as the idea for a class action lawsuit over Saskatchewan's wildfire response falls apart. And a man whose job it is to fight fires is sentenced in court for setting them. Plus, taking to the streets to stem Regina's high rates of dangerous infections.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Tuesday, July 22nd. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hello, I'm Natasha Lipney. A class action lawsuit against the Saskatchewan government over its response to northern wildfires will not be going ahead. Earlier this month, Procedo LLP held a webinar to explore the possibility of a lawsuit. More than 100 people attended, some of whom had lost their homes to fire. On July 18th, they learned the case would not proceed, but they aren't giving up.
There's definitely a bunch of us that are still writing his office constantly. We're not going anywhere, and I don't know if he realizes that.
The Saskatoon law firm conducted a preliminary evaluation to identify the legal complexities of the case. They say that while there are reasonable grounds to move forward, it could take decades before the matter is resolved. We've learned more about a fatal shooting by a police officer last week in Regina. The officer involved was in plain clothes and is a 22-year veteran. That's according to both the Regina Police Service and a preliminary report from Saskatchewan's Serious Incident Response Team. The report says two plainclothes officers verbally confronted a 29-year-old man in an alley between Garnet and Athol. That man was wanted in connection with an ongoing homicide investigation. During the altercation, one officer fired a single shot and killed the man. Police found a replica firearm at the scene. The officer involved is now on leave. Meanwhile, Statistics Canada has released its national crime numbers for last year. Crime is down in Regina, just as it is across the country. But many of the cities with higher crime rates are in the west. Regina police say systemic issues faced by marginalized groups on the prairies has partly contributed to higher incarceration rates. Still, the acting police chief says having more visible officers in the community is helping.
I can recall the days when Regina was #1 for crime severity and crime rate, and so it's positive that for 2024 we ranked #9 out of the 41 CMAs for crime severity index and 11th for crime rate.
Davies says there is still more work to do. She hopes the city will not rank in the top 20 for crime in the future. So far in 2025, Regina crime rates are down in all areas except for arson. Speaking of arson, a year-long legal saga revolving around a series of hay bale fires is finally over. It involved an unlikely culprit. Alexander Kwan has this story.
Last summer, the Macklin Fire Department responded to multiple calls of hay bales that had gone up in flames. For a month, the fires mystified residents and the all-volunteer fire department. A cash reward for information eventually grew to more than $25,000. The ultimate culprit, a member of the town's own fire department. On Monday, 25-year-old Logan Sieben was sentenced in provincial court after pleading guilty to one count of arson causing property damage. He must serve 18 months probation, complete 200 hours of community service in 15 months, and is not allowed to have any fire-starting tools. Crown prosecutors had also argued that Sieben should pay $76,000 in order to cover the costs of the department's response to the fires, but the judge decided to not impose any fines. The chief of the Macklin Fire Department says he had hoped for a more severe sentence.
I don't know that jail time would solve the problem, I guess, but maybe a little bit of some type of house arrest or something like that, and the restitution with that as well.
The court heard that members of the fire department became suspicious of Sieben over comments he made when they responded to the hay bale fires. Sieben said things like, "The area does not have any cameras," or "There are two ways in and out." Under questioning from police, Sieben initially admitted to starting 3 fires, but under closer examination, he eventually admitted to starting 30 blazes. Fire Chief Justin Bast says he's happy the case is now closed.
It's time to move forward. Our members have dealt with it professionally, but it's over now, and we'll continue to provide the services that we do and just keep moving forward.
Defense lawyers told the court that Sieben had struggled with mental health since he was young, and that last spring his mental health went downhill. That's what led to the arson spree. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The opposition NDP says people living in rural Saskatchewan are not getting the health care they deserve. NDP MLA Keith Jorgensen points out that hospitals in small towns like Watrous and Maple Creek have recently stayed open without a doctor on site. Jorgensen says it's not only staffing that's an issue, it's a communication failure. He wants the province to notify people in real time when doctors are absent and hire more healthcare workers all around.
A tremendously dangerous situation if you try and imagine yourself in a car driving down a rural highway and there's a medical emergency and you're trying to guess, where should I drive? What hospital might be open? If the hospital's open, is there a doctor there?
In a statement, the Saskatchewan government says its virtual physicians program helps patients when local doctors are unavailable. It also says the NDP wants to shut down that program, which would put more pressure on rural communities. Saskatchewan is also struggling when it comes to infectious disease rates, leading the country in cases of HIV, hepatitis C, and syphilis. A Regina initiative wants to knock those numbers down, and they're trying to do that by bringing testing and resources straight to the places most impacted. Jeremy Warren brings us this story.
So I'll just get you to sign the form.
This is bringing care directly into the community and meeting people where they're at.
The project is called 3 Infections, 1 Fight, and the Regina team behind it says it's the first study of its kind in Canada. They have a lofty goal: reduce Saskatchewan's nation-leading rates of HIV, hepatitis C, and syphilis. AIDS Programs South Saskatchewan partnered with the University of Regina to run the study.
We are creating maps based on discarded needles and where there is open drug use and public drug use, and we are bringing the type of care that people need directly to them.
These pop-up testing sites also connect drug users with supports. This week, the project held a mock pop-up to show how it works. The research team includes people like Jason Littleford, who have lived experience as substance users.
Thinking back to when I was in that position, talking with somebody that had experience or knew what they were talking about would make things a lot easier. Like you'd be more comfortable speaking to somebody who has an understanding of what you're dealing with, right?
APSS runs reportneedles.ca, where people can report discarded needles in Regina. The nonprofit says it's collected 38,000 in the city since 2021. That data identifies hotspots of drug use, so researchers know where pop-up testing will be most effective.
It's a little difficult to reach out to people if we are not accessible. So if we go out to people, then there's more chances that people would be, are more willing to get tested. And the important thing is to get tested, know the status so that you can get treatment.
The project runs until April 2027. Pop-ups will happen in parks, parking lots, and at community agencies working with vulnerable people. Saskatchewan's rate of new HIV infections is 3 times the national average. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan is joining Ontario and Alberta in building new energy and trade infrastructure. The Premier signed a memorandum of understanding with his 2 counterparts. Scott Moe says the agreement could provide Canada with economic growth and security by helping our commodities reach new markets.
Canada's energy, our critical mineral sector, whether it be our oil and gas sector, all of our exporting industries have faced far too many bottlenecks in not only their production, but in limiting our ability to provide those products to nations around the world. And it is us coming together as provinces, and we would very much hope to work alongside the Prime Minister Carney and his government in changing that and enhancing Canada's opportunity to not only become the strongest economy in the G7, but ensuring that we can achieve the aspirational goals that Prime Minister Carney has put forward of becoming a global energy superpower.
Mo signed the agreement at the Premier's meeting in Huntsville, Ontario. I'll tell you a bit more about that later in the show. A pop of color against a gray sky. That's what much of Saskatchewan looked like today as smoke blanketed the southern half of the province. Air quality alerts prompted many people to stay indoors despite the mild weather. We'll hear if that smoke will move on or linger a while longer. That's in our forecast after the break. Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney met with the premiers at a summit in Ontario's cottage country. Donald Trump's trade war with Canada and nation building were top of the agenda. CBC's Kate McKenna has more.
I'm going to call to order this First Minister's meeting.
Prime Minister Mark Carney with an update for premiers on the topic that upended Canadian politics and economics, the trade war with the United States.
We all understand that the global trade environment is changing. And there are some countries that are pulling back, that are restricting market access, but there's even more countries that are opening up to market access.
The new trade deal with the U.S. is supposed to be in its final negotiations with an August 1st deadline.
I think the premiers have full confidence in the team that we have negotiating on our behalf.
But today, neither Carney nor the premiers seemed sure that deadline will be met.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We're working to get the best deal for Canadians, and that's the focus now. I think what's absolutely clear is we have a lot to do in this country. We have a lot to do that's positive to build. That's becoming more concrete.
I would be worried that if we constrain ourselves that we have to get a deal by a certain date, that we maybe have to, maybe do some things or give up some things or give up some leverage that we might not otherwise have to if we just focus on getting the best deals.
Instead, all seemed more focused on building up Canada and busting down internal trade barriers, so the next generation is less reliant on the United States.
And what are you going to do for the Trump tariffs? There's one thing we can thank President Trump for, is getting us moving, getting us united like I've never seen before across the country and focusing on large infrastructure projects.
Carney hinted at doing more deals with other countries.
Our phone is ringing off the hook from other countries who want to do more with Canada. I've had over 80 bilaterals with world leaders since I became Prime Minister.
A promise to get a new deal with the United States was part of Mark Carney's election campaign. The deadline has already been pushed back twice, but Carney says he'll only accept a deal if it's good for Canada. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Huntsville, Ontario.
I'm joined now by weather specialist Helena Mahalik from our Saskatoon studio. So I walked around a very hazy Wascana Park over my lunch break, and I'm guessing it might be even worse up there in Saskatoon?
Yeah, Natasha, it's been really smoky here, especially ever since yesterday. You can even smell the smoke in your house, in your car. And I spoke to Environment Canada about this today, and they said that it has everything to do with wind direction.
Basically, we had a frontal boundary that's worked its way through the province, and behind that boundary, the winds have shifted to be coming out of the north. And so a lot of the wildfires are in the northern parts of the province. And so when the wind is out of the north, it blows all the smoke from the north down south. And so basically, that's what we're seeing throughout today. And unfortunately, as you alluded to, it looks like it's going to linger for a couple days.
This has prompted air quality warnings to be in effect for the majority of our province, the worst kind of air quality alert that can be in place, especially in the southwest, places like Val-Marie, into central Saskatchewan for areas around Saskatoon, and up into La Ronge where that smoke is coming from. The smoke in La Ronge, and as well as from fires around Flin Flon, Manitoba, are causing very poor air quality, and unfortunately in the next coming days we're not going to see much improvement. In the next few days we may even start to see air quality warnings pop up in the southeast for areas around Estevan and Yorkton, but by Thursday evening we are going to start seeing some relief, and as the meteorologist mentioned, that's all in part to the wind direction. So you can see Tuesday night that winds in the north are gusting up to 40 kilometers an hour, and the direction is pushing down towards the south, pushing that smoke down there, and that's going to continue into Wednesday. We're seeing again up to 30 kilometers an hour wind gusts pushing towards the south, but by Thursday evening we're finally going to see a shift around Swift Current. There's going to be 30 kilometers an hour wind gusts, and the direction is shifting to push that smoke back up towards the north. And as for Tuesday night, we are seeing a chance of rainfall in the province, a 60% chance of showers with a risk of thunderstorms in the south, a chance of severe thunderstorms in the southeast for areas around Estevan, as well as a 30% chance of showers in central areas around Saskatoon. And we have had a few days of gloomier weather. As for Wednesday, skies are finally going to be clearing. We may see some scattered thunderstorms or showers, but we're mainly seeing clear skies for much of the province. And this is going to continue into Thursday. We're finally going to have a sunny and clear day, maybe just some cloud coverage up north. And into Thursday, we may see some more scattered showers, but it's mainly going to be situated to the north or the northern grain belt for areas just west of Prince Albert. The rest of the province in for some very clear skies. And you know, all of this smoke and rain, gloomy weather has caused our daytime highs to drop down quite a bit. As you can see, Tuesday, temperatures were hovering just around 20 degrees or even below that for areas around Saskatoon. And although the sun is coming out Wednesday, temperatures are still going to be hovering just around 20 degrees. But by Thursday, we're going to see the smoke clearing, and we're also going to see temperatures jump back up around 25 degrees or even just above that. So Natasha, by the end of the week, we're finally seeing the smoke clearing, the sun coming back out just in time for the weekend.
That's great news. Thank you, Helena.
Thanks, Natasha.
Well, people still aren't done talking about that viral Coldplay concert moment. Yes, that one, when the married CEO of a tech company was caught cozying up to a coworker on the Jumbotron. As Sharon Yonan-Reynolds reports, the moment has sparked a conversation about online privacy and the internet's mob mentality.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. A couple caught canoodling on a kiss cam at a Coldplay concert. One, the married CEO of technology firm Astronomer, the other in charge of its human resources. The viral moment now the butt of jokes.
She's the head of HR. So today she had to call herself into her own office. That was it.
In an online post, the company announced the resignation of CEO Andy Byron, adding, "Our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability, and recently that standard was not met. Their public faux pas has a lot of people talking."
I think it's really sad to have these people exposed like that.
You do something, you're going to be all over the internet, everybody's going to know. That's 2025. What are we going to do about it? You have to be careful.
I think it's terrible, but it was very funny in terms of a situation. So, yeah, shame on him.
The psychologist says the circumstances make this a perfect storm for a viral moment.
So the fact that it wasn't just, a regular couple from up the street, the fact that it was someone with wealth and with prestige and all of that for, most of the rest of us, then elevated it to that us versus them comparison.
Experts also say that with our lives on display through social media, the public has less tolerance for bad behavior.
There's a greater expectation of transparency from public figures, or even if you're not a public figure in the case of the CEO, but still executives or leaders. And that means they have to respond, I think, with a greater amount of accountability than they have before.
Neither person in the video has commented publicly, but whether you see them as the victims of meddlers or simply getting what they deserve, experts say it's a reminder of how a public deed can go viral in a flash. Sharon Yonan-Reynolds, CBC News, Montreal.
You could call it a medi-pedi. This British zoo resident had been having trouble walking for some time. The cause? Overgrown hooves. Bashu is nearly 5 meters tall, so he had to be put under anesthesia while specialists worked on his feet. The zoo says the giraffe is recovering well. We'll be back after the break. The Saskatchewan Roughriders had a great weekend in Vancouver. They upped their record to 5-1 with a 33-27 victory over the BC Lions. It was a face-off that saw all facets of the Rider game plan come together. Quarterback Trevor Harris led the way with 3 touchdowns and almost 400 yards passing. It was an unexpected bounce back after such a big loss at home to the Calgary Stampeders 2 weeks ago.
I think it's a cultural thing that, is, worked its way into our facility from the top down. And I think the thing that, you need to avoid are the letdowns after you play a game like that, because we know how dangerous of a club Edmonton can be. And, they have playmakers on the perimeter. They have quarterbacks that can make plays and really, really scare the death out of you.
We're not what we quite want to be yet. And I don't think anybody would have anything to say to argue that. I think we just know the capability of where we want to go. And regardless of what game you pick, we're just not quite there yet.
The Riders will take on the Edmonton Elks Friday night for the first of only 2 games this season. Kickoff at Mosaic Stadium is 7 p.m. And Helena is back with another look at our forecast. Take it away, Helena.
Well, things are definitely going to be warming up in the next few days. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. Wednesday, temperatures are still going to be just below 20 degrees, but Thursday, temperatures jumping right back up to seasonal before getting even warmer just in time for the weekend, and the sun will be out all throughout the week. Saturdays, maybe your day to get outside and do something outdoors because there is a chance of rainfall Sunday, but into next week, we're seeing, again, warm conditions and another chance of showers Tuesday, and overnight lows will be above seasonal for this time of year. In Saskatoon, we're also seeing the sun out all throughout the week, and again, 20 degrees on Wednesday, but jumping back up to seasonal Thursday, and we're going to stay that way all throughout the week. We're not getting quite that same heat over the weekend that the city of Regina is, but we're still getting some nice weather. Again, a chance of some showers Sunday, and into next week, we're seeing clear skies and overnight lows hovering just around seasonal. So, Natasha, looks like it's going to be warm weather after all for that Riders game.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that's it for us. For more news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app. Thanks for watching.